The Elastic File System is the file-based storage system on AWS. So what we're going to do here, I've taught you a little bit about this before, but we'll go over it again quickly. So we can attach EC2 instances from multiple availability zones to a file system, and then we can mount that file system to those instances. And this is a mount point because this is Linux. You can't use Windows with EFS at this stage. And it will use the NFS protocol to connect to the file system. And then you'll be able to see the same data at the same time from these instances. So an additional thing you can do if you want to is actually connect to your corporate data center using a virtual private network or AWS Direct Connect, which is a private network connection into AWS. And you can use those network links to access EFS as well from another network outside of AWS. So let's go over to AWS Management Console, and we're going to build a configuration just like this. So the first thing I want to do is launch my instances. Now we're going to use Linux. We're going to use the Linux 2 AMI, T2 Micro. I'm going to put the first one in subnet A. Going to click on Next. I'm going to leave all the defaults here. Choose my Web Access Security Group and then launch my instance. So that's the first one. Let's go back and launch the second one. So again, the same configuration. I have to do these separately because I want to choose different availability zones. So this one's going to go into 2B. Click on Next. Again, all the defaults here. Web Access Security Group and then launch. So our instances are launching. Now we can go over to the Elastic File System. So that's under Storage, EFS. And all we do here is just create a file system. So we can give it a name if we like to. Let's call it My EFS. It's going to go into our virtual private cloud. Let's click on Create. So that's quite a simple setup process. It's now going to create the file system. And we do need to do a couple of other configurations in order to make this work. So while that's initializing, we're going to go and connect to our EC2 instances. So let's head back to EC2, click on Running Instances, and I'm going to copy the connection command for my first instance. So I'm on the command prompt here. I'm going to click on Enter, type yes, and I'm connected to one of my EC2 instances. Let's now take the connection command for our second EC2 instance, copy that to our clipboard, and on a different command prompt, I'm going to enter that command, click on yes, and so now I'm connected to both my instances. So back in EC2 Management Console, let's go back to EFS, and we have our file system here. Let's click on My EFS, and we can see where the mount targets are. So we can see, for instance, here that it's available in 3 different availability zones: AP Southeast 2A, 2B, and 2C. And we've got our instances in 2A and 2B. Now, if we click on Manage here, we can actually see that the file system uses a security group. So we need to have this security group configured so that it will allow traffic inbound. So let's just cancel out of there. I'm going to go back to EC2 and let's have a look at the security group. So it's actually using the default security group. So let's head down to security groups here, default. Now the default security group allows all protocols from itself, so from anything that's actually using that security group. So there's a couple of things we could do. We could change the security group to our web access and add in the rule, which is NFS. So one option is to come in here. We can type NFS and use the NFS protocol, and then we could configure a range, or we could configure it more securely to come from this security group itself. So we type SG, and then you can configure that rule to allow this traffic only from the security group itself. The other option would be to add the default security group to the EC2 instances. I like to do this rather than modify the default. So this will allow the NFS protocol from any instances that are actually part of the security group. So both our instances are in the security group. So we'll click on Save Rules. Let's go back to EFS. Going to go into Network here, Manage, and we're going to change the security group. So now it's going to use the Web Access Security Group, and you have to do that for each of these availability zones, and then click on Save. So that's it. We've now configured this. So how do we actually access the file system? If we click on Attach here, it actually gives us the command which we need. So we have this command that we can use to connect. Now there are a couple of other pieces to this which I want to do first. So in your code and files directory from the course download, you'll find this file connect to EFS file system. Now what we need to do first is run this command to install the EFS utils on our EC2 instance. So let's go here, click on, hit enter, and in this case it's actually installed. And I'm going to go here and just hit enter, and that's going to install them. The next thing we can do is just run this command, and this is going to create a directory for our mount point. So just copy all of this. Let's come back, create our mount point directory, do the same here. I'm just going to clear the screen, bring this down to the middle, and the same again here. And now we can run the command to actually connect the file system. Now this is the command I'm going to run. It's almost the same as the one on the screen in the console. So if we come back to the console, you can copy this command. So let's just do that. And the only difference here is I've just added in the path to our mount point. So if I come back, paste in this, the only thing you need to change is put /mnt/, and then that's the correct command. So let's hit enter. And that's connected. Let's come across to our other instance, do the same thing, so /mnt/, and now we have the full command, hit enter, and now both our instances are connected. So I can change to that directory, and now I can create a file. So I'm going to use the touch command to create a file called test file. And what we need to do is just use the sudo utility here. So we've got the permissions, and now that's been created. So I can see that there's a file called test file. So back on this instance, let's do the same thing and change to the mnt/EFS directory. And if we hit ls, we can see the test file. So there we can prove that we've got two EC2 instances in completely different availability zones. They're both connected to the same file system and they can see the same data. So that's it for this lesson. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's go back and clean up our resources and make sure we don't end up spending any money. So back in EFS, we click on File Systems, choose our file system, and then delete. And we have to enter this ID. So I'm just going to copy the ID of the file system from here, paste that in, and click on Confirm. And that will delete my file system. Don't forget to check that it actually takes place. It says it's deleting the mount targets first, and then we should see that. So come back and check in a few minutes. And then meanwhile, I'll head over to EC2 and then just terminate my two instances, and then we're all cleaned up.